That's gonna be cool. Oh, more tidy things.
It's not very
And the Reverend Gretchen Haley coming out across the Turn your open name
There's a Peter over there.
Cool. I'm going to go. Our build on a new way. Everybody knows that. We're going to sing it. That's interesting. The Mercury is the American. So I guess we sing that, and we can invite everyone to sing it. For what? You can have this in America. The opening hymn is "This Is Our Song," my song. The Spirit of Life. Dog circle. Got it. All right. So that's it. So I'll welcome everyone and invite them to sing. Good morning, beautiful people. What a special day to consider July 4th coming tomorrow. We are going to open our prelude with the song America, which has been given other words to reflect on. You are welcome to sing with us or reflect or hum as we hold our country and our people and our creatures and our world in our hearts.
From the Reverend Gretchen Haley, come now across platforms and practices to declare with joy our resilience, to proclaim on purpose we have survived the pandemics of our time. We have survived. We are surviving. We have pivoted, we have planned, and then replanned, and then thrown all plans to the wind. In this circle, we will say without shame, some days we lost our way and our passwords, and we have not always been our best selves. We are learning, and not always quickly, to regroup and remember perfection was never the point. We are here because we long to try again, to promise with people to be partners in this long-haul work of loving and becoming, even while we grieve also the cost, which is not small and lingers in our hearts, and turns only sometimes to rage. Here let your body tell the truth. Shake free the stories that live in your skin. Breathe in your beauty and breathe out your burdens. Breathe in our beauty. Breathe out our burdens. Be here with it all, with all of us in the freedom of this new day. The storm is passing. The sun is breaking through. This new day dawns for us all. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the worship at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro. I am Nora Bird, and I am a member of this congregation. Our worship service today is created largely from worship last Sunday at the General Assembly of the Unitarian Universalist Association, held this year in Portland, Oregon. Our minister, the Reverend Sadie Lansdale, was there, and she said that the enthusiasm for our common life and calling was contagious, and so was the virus that she caught. Unfortunately, other things were contagious as well, and she is homesick today to keep us all safe. Unitarian Universalists believe that each person has a trustworthy relationship with the Spirit, with the Holy, with the source of all life, with what some call God, though we name it and know it differently from one another. And we believe that because we are interconnected, nobody is free until we all are free. So we strive to build beloved community here on earth in our fellowship with one another and in our work for justice. Whether today is your first or your 1,000th Sunday in our midst, we are stronger because you are with us. We are one people of many beliefs, many origins, sexualities, and genders. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Our ministry team here at UUCG is Cindy Dillard, our Director of Children's and Youth Ministry, who's over there. Julie Hamilton, our Congregational Administrator, and our Minister, the Reverend Sadie Lansdale. A very warm welcome to Dr. Lynn Hassler, who has been our choir director this month, and she is being accompanied by our own Steve Andrews on the guitar. So I have some questions. Should you have your cell phone on during church, making noise? No. Should you take your mask off? No. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share in our prayers of the people, you can write it on the yellow card in your order of service and hold it during our opening hymn for our ushers to collect. You can also light a candle of remembrance at any time during the music in the service. If you're online and you'd like to get more connected, you can click the link in the description of this YouTube video and let us know how we can connect with you. If you're in person, you can fill out a pink, I would actually call them salmon, form at the visitors table. Visit our website for our contact form, or simply stick around after worship for our post-worship reflection. If you're joining us online, go ahead and say hello in the chat. If you're joining us in the sanctuary, won't you wave hello to everyone joining in online? We will have our chalice lighting. The words are in your order of service. Alexis Webb will help Carol Webb light the chalice. We light this chalice,
symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, to remind us to connect in spirituality and service, to care for each other and the world, and to create loving community.
A covenant contains the promises we make to one another in response to the great gift of living, holding ourselves to these holy aspirations. Will you join me in our church covenant? We,
the members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Greensboro, do covenant to promote the search for personal meaning, respecting the individual truth and community process of Christ, seek and act with caring, courtesy, and love, thereby maintaining emotional, physical, and spiritual safety for all. Support UUCG and denominational efforts with our resources. Combat injustice while promoting equality. Nurture our children on their spiritual journey. Hold our
159 in your great hymnal, This Is My Song. If you're with us in the sanctuary, won't you take a moment to greet your neighbors?
Hi, preacher. Hi, preacher.
And if you're online, go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. How beautiful it is to be together. We gather in gratitude this morning, turning our hearts to thanks and praise for the gift of living, in the presence of the Spirit that animates all life, and in the knowledge that we are powerfully, profoundly connected to all that is, all that has been, and all that will be. During these few moments of silence, you can focus on something you're grateful for, or someone you are remembering especially today, or just the sensation of your chair supporting you. Will you find a comfortable place in your seat and take a few easy breaths as we settle into our shared silence together? For our joys and sorrows. Phyllis Sutphin says, please keep me in your prayers Tuesday when I'll have a second surgery on my left knee. Phyllis, our prayers are with you. Anonymous says, sending support to all the people impacted by the Roe versus Wade overturn, those feeling frustrated and helpless, you are not alone. Alyssa says, after 2 years of searching and being rejected, my husband and I are finally under contract for our first house. So that's the joy. The sorrow is it's going to cost a lot of sweat equity. And Lynn Hostler says, I am grateful for the opportunity to share music with you all. Thank you, choir. Thank you, community. My life has been enriched and blessed by your welcome. And we hold these prayers in our hearts. I invite you now to offer the names of those people on your heart, living or dead, near or far, that this community might hold them in prayer and love. You can type them in the comments if you're joining us online, or speak them aloud now. And we hold these prayers in our hearts. From the Reverend Sherry Halliday Kwan, like those who have come before, the person I was last year, or the you of 1 hour from now, and the community that we used to be, we are all always changing. As people and communities, our courage flickers and falters. Here in the witness of community, we are open to the truth that we do not always get it right. We call to mind the moments when we have failed to live out our deepest values, when we have been mean-spirited or selfish, when we have been complicit, sometimes for survival, with white supremacy and systems of oppression, when we have done harm, even unknowingly, to our beloveds. Here in the witness of community, we know and name that there are those among us who have been hurt. We have not and are not always treated right. Many carry invisible wounds from our communities, our ancestors, our churches, our beloveds, and our faith. May the terms of forgiveness be ours. May our shared experience be a blessing. May we find new pathways to healing. For we contain multitudes. Growth is a messy affair, imperfect and unceasing. May rest offer the chance to form new connections. Our brains and relationships and stories nurtured in darkness, we open to this day. In this loving embrace, may we find an ease that tempts us not into shutting out the world, or denying it, or finishing it all by ourselves. Lead us to rest, to not know, to try anyway, to love, to take delight, to rise again and again to co-create the world. May we find this place and people of welcome and belonging. May we be that place and those people. We ask these things for ourselves, for those we love, and for those we do not love. Amen. In our singing meditation, we sing the things we often cannot say, our prayers and yearnings, our heartbreak, and our hope. Please stay seated and sing from your heart number 123 in your gray hymnal, Spirit of Life.
All the servants of
This story is called Indra's Magnificent Jeweled Net, a traditional Buddhist and Hindu story. Far, far away, in the abode of the great god Indra, king of heaven, hangs a wondrous, vast net, much like a spider's web in intricacy and loveliness. It stretches out infinitely in all directions. At each node or crossing point of the net hangs a single glittering jewel. Since the net itself is infinite in dimension, the jewels are infinite in number. The sparkling jewels hang there, suspended in and supported by the net, glittering like stars, dazzling to behold. Close your eyes now and imagine what this magnificent jeweled net looks like, spread across the vast expanse of space. Now keep your eyes closed and move in close to one jewel in the net. Look closely and you will see that the polished surface of the gem reflects all the other jewels in the net, infinite in number, just as two mirrors placed opposite each other reflect an image ad infinitum. Each jewel reflected in this gem you are gazing into also reflects all the other jewels, so that the process of reflection is infinite. Now open your eyes and know that you are a sparkling jewel in Indra's net, as is every person around you. Every jewel is connected with all the other jewels in the net. Every person is intimately connected with all the other persons in the universe. Each has an independent place within the net, and we all reflect and influence each other. A change in one jewel or person produces a change, however slight, in every other. Realize, too, that the infinite reflections speak to the illusory nature of appearances. Appearances are not, in fact, reality, but only a reflection. The true nature of a thing is not to be captured in its appearance. However powerful that appearance might be, it is yet only a reflection of what is real. In addition, whatever you do to one jewel affects the entire net, as well as yourself. You cannot damage one strand of a spider web without injuring the entire web. And you cannot damage one strand of the web that is the universe without injuring all others in it, whether that injury is known or unknown to them. This can work for good or ill, because, of course, just as destructive acts affect the entire net, so do loving, constructive, compassionate acts affect the entire net. A single helpful act, even a simple act of kindness, will send positive ripples across the infinite net, touching every jewel, every person in existence.
You're all welcome to just follow along and sing with us and get silly.
Thank you.
children, 4th grade and younger, are invited to join their teachers in the RE wing for snack, play, and fellowship. Let's sing them out. Let's go. Go in peace, go in peace, go in peace, amen, amen. Go in love, go in love, go in love, amen, amen. Go in joy, go in joy, go in joy, amen, amen. This sermon is from the Reverend Sean Neil Barron, entitled, Why Church? My friends used to ask me, why do you go to church? After I became a minister, they stopped asking. But I never did.
So why do I go to church? As soon as I turn the page, we'll find out.
Oh, here, Joan, use this one. Joan, use this.
Church, the place that breaks my heart, more often than any other. The beauty of its potential, obscured by the labor of reality. That churches are human, not utopian endeavors. Every church I have ever been a part of has never been exactly who they proclaim to be, nor exactly who I wanted or needed them to be.
Why church? I have witnessed professionals violating the trust granted to them, cloaking their deceit in the garb of spiritual language, congregational bullies allowed to rampage in the name of nice or freedom of belief, causing beloved people to step away, the pain too great to continue. I have witnessed trauma like a puppeteer pulling the strings, compelling us to play out old stories again and again and again.
Why church? Why do I keep going? Why do we keep going? The longer you stay in, the more grief you accumulate. The grief of the people who left the faith, left the church to attend another, or simply left life. And even as the joy of new people arriving arises, you look around and realize you don't recognize anyone anymore, and wonder if that must mean it's time for you to leave too.
Why church? For it will be true that the church you join will not be the same church you leave. Changed by your presence, changed by the presence of every other. That's the beauty and the magic and the heartache. There is much that changes in the life of a church. The musical stylings of generations come and go. The language and words of reverence shift. We decenter what was once assumed to be our essence, to reveal the true liberatory power within. We constantly evolve and re-evolve around our core, the determination of love to break forth. That question, why church? There is no answer. Not one could endure a lifetime. Not one answer the same for each of us. Our answers like stars forming new constellations, guiding us in every season of life, point us toward a simple impulse. Why church? Well,
Because church. I call it the casserole reflex. That when the church hears the news of the diagnosis, of the accident, of the looming crisis, of death, divorce, or disaster, somehow, even before they realize it, the casserole dish is in the oven. An instinct to care, just baked in. The same reflex that taught me that when certain events happen, you don't call, you don't text, you go. You show up. Awkwardly, sure. Uncomfortable, of course. But you show up.
Why? Because church. It's the feeling we get, gathered for imperfect worship. A collection of friends and strangers, united by an almost indescribable promise that answers a question coded deep within us, the need to belong, to be reminded of that belongingness, the full embrace that conveys the truth, that all the parts of you, the questioning parts, the doubting parts, the cynical parts, the hurt parts, are not only welcome, but necessary. If that universal salvation is true for all of us, it's true for all parts of us too.
Why? Because church. It's a temporal embrace, an embrace with one arm ancestral, the other futuristic, converging together. A complex embrace, holding as much pain as potential, a belonging that grounds and orients us into time itself. A belonging that says, you are part of this unfolding story, the end of which has not yet been written, and here we will face it, not alone, or unequipped, unprepared, or unprotected, for here we have stories and practices, rituals and music, ancestors, and yes, baggage. You don't need to strike out on your own. You don't need to make it all up by yourself. And look around. You don't have to do it alone either. For you have a people.
Why? Because church. In a society that tells me to be self-made, I need church that tells me I exist because we are. For if the choice were independence or interdependence, there is no question. I would choose the gnarly path if we can go together. And it is the church, more than any other place, that never lets me forget this.
Why? Because it's church. It's the beauty of seeing the child dedicated in the arms of their family. It's the 85-year-olds and the 95-year-olds who, when the pandemic hit, became Zoom experts overnight and then taught others. Casting off the confines of the physical sanctuary for a digital cathedral. Knowing that church was never a place, but a people.
And when my heartbreak becomes too much, caught in the cavernous gap between promise and reality, I testify that every time I mustered the courage to keep showing up, I surprised myself that I could find the power of love over and over again in these broken people and hopeless places, where my brokenness doesn't disqualify me when I'm willing to put in the work. And even as certain people grate on me like sandpaper, I feel them wear down my rough places, granting me much needed lessons in patience, compassion, forgiveness, and humility, giving me the chance to practice being human.
Why? Because church. Our churches are like base camps, teams, fanning out, forming rapid response networks of prayer and safe passage for all who seek safety, self-determination, and shelter. We feed each other and are fed. We dismantle prisons of supremacy living within us and around us, all the while growing us awkwardly and lovingly as we navigate the challenge of a mission that calls us to the brink of all that we love and know, and invites us, it commands us to step out in faith, to commit to be changed, to covenant, to promise, to journey, without knowing what intimacy, what vulnerability will be asked of us. As we embark, for if we knew, we wouldn't have said yes. But looking back, we can't help but thank God we did.
Why? Because church. I've witnessed friendships formed in social halls, sparked in classes that have saved lives. Zoom chats, brimming with prayer, heartfelt messages launched not into a void, but as offerings, gently drifting into the heart center of a community that breathes and conspires both IRL and within, and beyond the ones and zeros that constitute our now other gathering place, revealing shards of holiness, reflecting belovedness imperfectly but truly, whispering, "You are not alone. You belong beyond your own choosing. The story is not over, and we each have a part to play." And though you may not believe its underlying chorus, or feel it moving within you, or trust it enough to let your guard down, what church can do is make love tangible, not simply theoretical.
Join together, one body in church. May it be so for you and so for all of us. Amen. Please rise in body or spirit for our musical response. Draw the circle wide.
That's a choir piece. Do you want the musical response to be what's listed for the offertory?
It was the next thing on
We
our...
can sing the choir and the chorus. Everybody, once you get the tune, just join us in the chorus.
Just following the script. Yeah.
Draw the circle wide. Draw the circle wide. No one stands alone, we'll stand side by side. Draw the circle wide.
One of the ways we live out our mission to create loving community is to contribute financially to the ministries of this congregation and to the good work of our community partners. One of the ministries of this church is our Minister's Discretionary Fund, which is available to anyone in a tough spot. We can help with medical bills, rent, groceries, or other needs. Reverend Sadie's email and phone number are on the back of your order of service, or you can contact the church through our website. One of the ways that we live out our mission to create loving community is to contribute financially to the ministries. Oh, I said that. Our offering this month goes to Mustard Seed Community Health, located in the Cottage Grove neighborhood in East Greensboro and nationally recognized as a model for integrated care. Mustard Seed Community Health's patients are some of the most vulnerable people in Guilford County. Many don't have health insurance, many are living in homes that make them and their families sicker, and many are struggling with trauma or struggling simply to put healthy food on the table. Before the Mustard Seed Community Health Clinic opened in 2013, many people went without health care until their problems became acute or even irreversible. If you'd like to make a contribution for our offering to be split with Mustard Seed Community Health, you can do so at the link in the description of this video. You can put cash in the plate. You can also mail a check. Ushers will come forward to collect the offering, which will now be gratefully received. Will you join me in our chalice extinguishing words? We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we are in our hearts until we are together again. During our postlude, anyone who needs to or wishes to leave may go with our blessing. Our adult religious exploration will focus on how the worship service speaks to your life. We are having a summer worship series called Voices from the Pews. It runs the rest of July and a few Sundays in August. Reverend Sadie has taught a lay preaching class, and we are excited to offer what's on our hearts to you.
Our benediction is number 701 in the Gray Hymnal. We receive fragments of holiness, glimpses of eternity, brief moments of insight. Let us gather them up, for precious gifts that they are, and renewed by their grace, move boldly into the unknown. Amen.
You will see me again. He's a beloved church. It comes out on Sunday. He comes out in church. I tell you, you're all the best.
Oh, the others stopped when I glued them.
Special varnish on there.
Well,
Repellent varnish.
sticks to my fingers, that's the problem.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just need to get the keys out of here.
Okay, hang on for a second. I gotta
Okay.
put these things away.
I made my availability. We'll see how it all goes.
Figure out what to do with it all.
Yellow card. Where'd they go?
No. I just want to leave trash.